tonight on While You Were Sleeping. The Chinese have a huge presence in Nigeria. Not only do they have a huge presence in Nigeria, but they are aggressively trying to take over. Now, family, I want us to remember, this is how colonization starts. They're denying Nigerians access to the very things that they've built. In this case, they're denying them access to the supermarket. Let's take a look.
A Chinese supermarket has been accused of racism against locals in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Nigerians were outraged after they were denied entry inside the store for not being of Chinese descent. The West African nation's consumer watchdog has now shut down the Chinese market and summoned its owner. Our next report goes into detail.
Not a day goes by when China and its behavior don't make the news. This time, Chinese actions have sparked outrage almost 10,000 kilometers away. Residents in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, are enraged with the way they've been treated. A Chinese supermarket in Nigeria is at the center of controversy. The shop is located in a building run by the Chinese Chamber of Commerce in the Nigerian capital. The Chinese supermarket has been accused of racism by denying entry to African shoppers. After videos of the supermarket's blatant racism against local Nigerians went viral, the West African nation's consumer protection watchdog closed down the Chinese store. Officials of Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission locked down the Chinese supermarket until further notice. They also summoned the store's owner for investigation. So how did this instance of Chinese racism against Nigerians in their own country surface? It all started earlier this week. A group of Nigerians went to the Chinese Chamber of Commerce to shop from its supermarket. They were all stopped at the entrance by guards who said that people of only Chinese descent were allowed inside. And then the outcry began. Nigerian authorities have refused to reopen the Chinese supermarket. However, the racist attitude by Chinese towards Nigerians and Africans is nothing new. Reports highlight that Chinese social media is full of anti-African content. And despite calls for controlling racism on Chinese social media, Beijing has done almost nothing about it. Chinese racism came into spotlight even before the COVID-19 pandemic. Africans who were living in China became victims of Chinese racism repeatedly. Over the years, reports of Africans being treated unfairly by the Chinese have become far too frequent. It reached a point where governments had to intervene to douse the flames. And instead of facing the crisis, Beijing called the racism incidents a way to create animosity between China and Africa.
I want to say that if there are people who want to seize on an incident to exaggerate matters and sow discord in China's relations with African countries, that this is a doomed, futile effort. China and Africa have weathered many storms, and the cooperation has been successful and win-win. How relations are between China and Africa, and whether or not cooperation is good. African countries and the people of Africa know in their hearts exactly how things stand.
China's presence in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, remains massive. There are at least 10,000 Chinese living in Nigeria.
So the Chinese has a Chinatown in Nigeria. And they built their own prison, their own police station, and their own hospitals in which only the Chinese can be seen. And of course, we don't want our people in prison, but in this system, it's only for the Chinese. So we're looking at these people coming in by the masses today and beginning to take over and begin to make a system that only serves them. How bold of them to say in Nigeria that you cannot enter into the supermarket or that you cannot be seen at this hospital. So you're telling me, and I watched a video with someone on grounds and he's like, wait, so you're telling me that they have more freedoms than the actual Nigerians? That they can go and have access to everything, but we can't, and this is our land?
There's this supermarket I saw online. It's a Chinese supermarket. They have like Chinese stuff inside, food, ramen and other things. So I wanted to go there and check it out. And on going there, they told me at the gate, the security people told me the supermarket is strictly for Chinese people. If you are a Nigerian, you cannot go inside. You cannot buy anything. This supermarket is there in Abuja, in Nigeria, and a Nigerian cannot enter. This is a joke. So that means the Chinese guy has more rights than you here in Nigeria, because he can enter anywhere he wants, everywhere. There's no place that he cannot enter. But you, there's a market you cannot enter. It shocked me.
First off, I'm glad that the Nigerians shut it down and they said, no, you won't be doing that here. And I pray that they continue to take that stance, that no, we will not allow that here. This is our territory, and you will not come in and make those type of decisions and make those type of protocols. So I hope that they continue to stand up for themselves. We cannot make the same mistakes of our past. So I pray that they continue to keep standing up for themselves and don't let the Chinese or anybody do what the Chinese are trying to do right now. And so this next story is a group of cultureless, ignorant Israeli students who decides to make mockery of an indigenous group of South African kids who actually have a culture, who actually have a way of life, and who precedes their existence. Let's take a look.
What's your name, my man? And what about you? Wow. What's your name? Yeah?
These children are absolutely amazing, beautiful, and they actually have a culture, as you can see. Well, this next clip is of these Israeli students, or fools, shall I say, that decides to mock them. Let's take a look.
What's your name? Shumu. What's your name? 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 What's your name?
My name
Watching this clip is a reminder that racism is right in our face. Racism is right at our doorstep. For anyone to think that racism is gone and love is love and that everybody is just kumbaya, that's just not the reality. So this is to show us time after time again that these people do not like us, that these people laugh at us, that these people don't see the beauty in our culture. And my question is, where are the people that get on the internet and stand up for senseless things? The people who get on the internet and tweet back and type back about things that have no value, things that have no importance, they react to. But who stands up for children like this? Who writes back children like this? Who approaches these fools and says, no, you will not make mockery. You're going to take that video down. You will not make mockery of our people. Who does that? We have to be the ones to put a stop to this ridiculous behavior. We have to be the ones to rule out this senselessness when it comes to our people. So keep speaking up and keep exposing people like this every day, because we need more voices that are going to stand. I just need to know, have you all heard what Gayle King just recently did in her interview with Dawn Stanley? Family, I need us to pay attention to this. Listen to what she said to this black woman.
What are you guys, Coach, saying? I'm so happy. The game was such a good game. It was so close at times. And in the end, you guys pulled it out. But was there ever a point during the game when you were worried? Because I got worried. We were all cheering for Iowa, of course, and Caitlin Clark. But for so many people, you've got their hearts. Was there ever a point where you were worried during the game? I wasn't ever worried during the game. I know.
This to me makes absolutely no sense that this person, Gayle King, who's a black face on a white network, right? And you would think that when we have a black face on a white network, that we finally would have a representation of us. But obviously not with Gayle King. She's just another white person in black skin. But she had the audacity to tell this black coach who just won a historical moment with a black team at the championship. She had the audacity to tell her that we, as in we, like who, number one, who is we, were rooting for Caitlin Clark in Iowa. Who's we? You can't represent us and talk for us. Who is the we that you're referencing? And after she won such a historical moment, after she put in so much hard work, you take that time to tell her that, of course, her words, of course we were rooting for Caitlin Clark in Iowa. As if it was a natural thing for us to do. To root for a losing team. Why would we root for a losing team who hasn't done what any of these black teams have done on television after such a great time and such a win for her, and turn around and say that of course we were rooting for the white girl, of course we were rooting for the other team, but you won so many people's hearts. Well, the question, Gayle King, is why haven't you won our heart? Because you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time. A lot of interviews. You've had a presence in mainstream media for some time now. So why haven't you won our hearts? The people who look like you. Because you did the same thing with R. Kelly, if I can recall. You did the same thing with R. Kelly in that interview. And then you did the same thing with Lisa Leslie, Kobe Bryant's best friend. You had the nerve to ask her, after his passing, about a case that's already been thrown out, he's already been deemed not guilty for. So this is your reputation, Miss Gayle King. And so I think she is getting drugged now for that statement, as she should. And I think she needs to know that you don't speak on our behalf. And we want to give kudos to Miss Dawn Stanley, if no one else does, for the hard work she put in for these girls. A black face with a black team that has not only coached them, but they say has been a mom to them on and off the court. That she talks to them on and off the court, and she gives them sound advice and wisdom. So big ups to her. And that's the way that interview should have went. This has been a short news broadcast presented to you by the Cuptic TV and the Vantage Point, the only two stations where you would catch while you were sleeping. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your family and friends. And until next time, you all be blessed.